for my Fun Fact Friday this week, I have one to share with you that I never really knew about until I started doing some more in-depth research on the Baker neighborhood for some clients of mine. So the Baker neighborhood in Denver, Colorado, it was one of the first streetcar suburbs developed in the late 1800s. A streetcar suburb is basically a residential area that was designed to be easily accessible by streetcar as a popular mode of transportation, again, back in the 1800s. And the development of Baker specifically, it really was enabled by this extension of the streetcar line to the area. So it made it possible for the first time for people that worked in downtown Denver to be able to finally live in what now is known as a suburb, because they were able to live further away from where they worked, but still have easy access to get to work and commute daily. So something that, a lot of people don't think about, but back then it was a huge milestone improvement to the city of Denver. So the streetcars in this Baker neighborhood specifically, they definitely were, what really created the improvement to Baker and really what developed Baker. Before this existed, Baker really wasn't much of anything. And these streetcars, they were operated by the Denver Tramway Company, and that was just really the first main public transportation provider in Denver during the late 19th and the early 20th centuries. The streetcars, they allowed people to travel to and from work and just commute for the first time. And this was an extension of the streetcar line to Baker, as well as a few other neighborhoods in Denver. One of those also being Highlands and Lower Highlands, which is close to where I live. So there's several areas around Denver that were benefited by this streetcar line and really created the development of these areas because of, again, the ability now to live further outside of the city and commute on a daily basis. So streetcars, the way they actually worked, so they were powered by an overhead electrical line, and then they were actually pulled by a horse-drawn car. And this was up until 1891. And that's when electric streetcars and even some buses were invented. And that was really what kind of changed things at that point. But it also is important to note that Denver was one of the very, very first cities in all of America to adopt this technology. And just the only other thing I would share with you guys is, so this popular mode of transportation did have a pretty steep decline in the 1920s and 30s when the automobile and buses were invented. So that led, to a very steep decline of the streetcar systems, and it really ended that era in Denver, Colorado. But today, these streetcars, they're no longer in operation, but you can definitely find a few different places in different neighborhoods, one of those being Baker, where you can still see the lasting remnants of some of the tracks and just some of the historical artifacts that still exist from over 100 years ago. So if you haven't seen those yet, definitely check out Baker. And then again, Highlands and Lower Highlands. There are some different areas in some of these suburbs where you can still see some of these really cool historical just memories of what it used to be like, again, over 100 years ago. Looking forward to hearing if you guys are out and about and maybe find some of these relics. And if you do, share them with me. Talk to you guys next week.